Welcome back or welcome to the You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. I went to the hospital today because I thought I had an ovarian cyst. I was having really sharp pains in my side on the right and my lower back and in my thigh. It was very strange and it kind of felt like cramps a little bit, but it was also like sharp pains. It was really strange and it had been happening since Friday, and I'm recording this on Monday. Well, technically Tuesday because it's 1 a.m. But I found out that I didn't have a cyst on my ovaries. I actually more than likely have something called sciatica, which is just kind of like pressure on a nerve that causes pain, like the sciatic nerve. I had never heard of this until I went to the hospital today. They gave me a steroid shot and then some pain meds for it, and they said it's probably from me doing pretty heavy labor at my job and also having my toddler chasing her around everywhere and just overworking my muscles too much. And some of the best ways to cure this are to rest, exercise, like low impact, use ice packs, use the pain meds that I was prescribed, and just take it easy. It's strange because whenever the doctor first told me that he thought it was this, I didn't think it was this, and I was like, that doesn't sound right at all. And honestly, this feels very similar to how it felt whenever I had an ovarian cyst. So he ordered an ultrasound. They did an ultrasound on me. They didn't see a cyst. They couldn't see my ovaries very well because I'm on my period and my ovaries were inflated. And I also just emptied my bladder. But they said if there was a cyst, they probably still would have seen it even then. And after he gave me that steroid shot, it does feel a lot better. It was getting so bad to where, like, if I would sit down or bend over, especially pick up my baby, it hurt so bad. And I was in so much pain for a couple of days straight. And actually, I thought that I was pregnant for a long time, because this may be TMI to some people, but I was having symptoms that literally only seemed like they relate to pregnancy. First of all, I had those pains, which again, they felt almost like cramps. And then my boobs were growing, like getting really big. And that's what happened the first time I was pregnant. And then my right nipple started leaking, which has not happened since I stopped breastfeeding. And my intuition just kept on telling me, like, you're pregnant, you're pregnant. I felt like I was 100% pregnant. I took 3 pregnancy tests. All 3 were negative. I thought maybe it was too early, and then I started my period. Oh, and also my period was late. That was one of the biggest things too. But I felt a little relieved whenever I found out that I wasn't pregnant, but mostly I felt really sad because this whole situation made me realize how much I want another baby. And we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and yeah, things would be harder, but a lot of parents choose to have their kids share bedrooms, and we could make it work. And I feel like having another baby in our lives would bring so much joy. I love being a mom so much, and having another baby, another kid to take care of, to raise as my own, this whole situation made me realize that I want that so bad, and I am ready to have another. And I was starting to get into the headspace where I was like, I'm good with just one baby. I want to focus on me, which is good, and I think that's important, but you can focus on yourself even whenever you have multiple kids. Obviously, you may have less time, but self-care is important no matter how many kids you have or don't have. But after this pregnancy scare, I just feel really sad and kind of empty in a way, because I was so excited to have another baby if I was pregnant. I'm 100% ready for another one, and my boyfriend isn't as much as I am, which is okay. We decided that we'd wait a little bit longer and then talk about it and maybe start trying, but we're just gonna wait and postpone that because it's a very hard topic for us to talk about whenever we both kind of disagree for very reasonable reasons. Like, he has very reasonable things, like we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, we don't have a lot of money. Honestly, if we didn't have support from family, we would not be surviving right now. And logically it makes sense, but I'm a woman and I look at things from a more emotional standpoint, and I know how much joy it'll bring to our lives, and I genuinely believe that it will bring more happiness and peace than anything else. But I'm not pregnant. I'm on my period right now, and I am sitting in the living room. I couldn't sleep, so I just decided to make a podcast episode. I was thinking about my life in general and how far I've come from the person that I used to be a couple years ago, and how 2022 was the absolute worst year of my life. I think everyone has a year where they say that's probably the worst year they have ever experienced. For me, it was 2022 for multiple reasons. And while thinking about that and thinking about how I was in 2022 versus how I am now, it really put things into perspective. And I usually look back at 2022 and all I can think of is I'm glad I'm not in that year anymore. And I'm glad I'm not going through what I went through anymore. But at the same time, sitting here tonight and just thinking helped me realize that I needed to go through that time to get to where I'm at now. And if I didn't experience that really shitty life that I had in 2022, I would not be the 2025 version of me. And me sitting there thinking just made me really want to make a podcast episode about how you have to go through hard times to get to the point where you're experiencing your best life. You have to go through the worst to get to the best. And the only way out is through. That one quote that everyone always says. So 2022 was a really hard year for me for multiple reasons. First of all, 2022 was the year that I started healing, like officially started my healing journey. And I guess like earlier than that, it was a little bit, but 2022 is the year that it really stuck with me and I really wanted to grow myself as a person and I was really dedicated to it. It was the year that I started listening to a lot of self-help podcasts and learning more about psychology. And because that was the year that I started healing and growing as a person, that was also the year that I experienced everything 10 times worse than I had ever been experiencing it before. Because before I started healing, I could just ignore things. I could distract myself. And after I started healing, I had to face everything that I was going through head on. And I realized that the life that I was living and the experiences that I was having, they did not align with me anymore. And that was really painful, knowing that I did not align with the life that I was living, but I had no way of getting out of it. I guess I'll start with the first thing that was really negatively impacting me. In 2022, I was in college, and college was really hard for me. I had such intense anxiety that anytime I would go to college, I felt like I was going to have a panic attack every single day, no matter what. I really struggled to make friends. I really struggled to put myself out there. I felt like everyone thought that I was weird. And I was so stuck in my own head and so anxious that I couldn't enjoy the college experience. I couldn't enjoy my classes. I would overthink everything. And even if it was a class or a topic that was interesting to me, I couldn't enjoy it because I was so anxious. And that was my life. Constantly being anxious 24/7, except for whenever I was with my boyfriend. And I had no friends. All I had was him. And because of that, I became very codependent on him. I felt like I really needed him. And throughout a lot of my life, I was always taught that all you need is a romantic partner. And once you find a romantic partner, they will save you from everything. Save you from all of the bad experiences that you have. Your life will finally be complete and you won't need anything else. They will fulfill every single one of your needs. And I genuinely believed that. And because of that, whenever he didn't fulfill every single one of my needs, I thought that that meant I was in a bad relationship. I was with someone that I was not meant to be with. I was in a toxic relationship. And it hurt and it sucked because I knew that even though I thought that I shouldn't be with this person, I would never leave because I was so scared of being alone and I was so scared of putting myself out there for new people, to meet new friends. And because of that, I was very trapped and stuck. We also lived with my boyfriend's grandparents, and that was a very toxic environment, specifically for me, not as much for him because it's where he grew up. And of course he has his own issues from growing up, but he was happy there in general and I was not. And I felt alone and like I didn't matter, like I was being pushed to the side. His grandmother was very controlling and manipulative, and because of that, I stopped trusting myself and I stopped loving myself, and I lost hope in myself and who I am as a person. And losing hope, it becomes the worst thing for anyone. And I started self-sabotaging because I hated myself so much, because I genuinely believed all of the things that his grandmother made me believe about myself. And I'm not saying this to blame her. She's still in my life and I think she's an amazing person. She really cares for people. She always goes out of her way to help people. But I still want to talk about my experience because that's important to me. I'm not saying this to bash her or to make anyone think that she's a bad person, because she's not. This is just my experience. But the way that she treated me made me hate myself, not entirely because of her, but also because I already had so many insecurity and self-hatred issues, and that situation heightened them. So because of that, I self-sabotaged in my friendships that were good for me. I did everything I could to please her and to make her happy, to make her proud of me, even if it didn't make me happy. I was exhausted. I resented her so much. I felt like my life wasn't my own and I was in control of someone else, and I wasn't allowed to be me. And I also thought that even if I did try to be me, I wasn't good enough and I would never do it right. So I sabotaged my friendships. That was the year that I started my podcast, so I sabotaged my podcast. I sabotaged anything that was good for me because deep down I felt like I didn't deserve it. Deep down I felt like I was worthless and I was just a people-pleasing person that had no real point of living. I didn't ever want to hurt myself because that was terrifying for me, but I still felt it. I felt that shame and self-hatred. It took over my life for so long, still impacts me even today, but 2022 was the year that it impacted me the most. 2024 was the year that I released it the most. But like I said, I was healing and growing so much as a person, and that was the year that started. And because of that, I couldn't just ignore all of these things anymore. I had to face them. And I had to go through them and experience them. I had to experience that feeling of hopelessness, that I would never have my own life for myself where I choose what I want and I choose what I love. And I get to fully be myself. I had to face the fact that I had to learn how to stand up for myself. And that was terrifying, being someone who is such a huge people pleaser and didn't want to make my boyfriend's grandmother angry at me or disappointed in me. I wanted to prove to her that I was worthy of being with her grandson. I wanted to prove to her that I was a worthy person. So I did everything she wanted me to. Once I became pregnant, I did, and a lot of things happened. But 2022 was the year that I started listening to my intuition. I wasn't there. I hated myself so much. I had so much anxiety. So I was at a place where I really didn't even know what my intuition was telling me, but I started listening and I started growing, and it placed the roots for who I am now and who I will be in the future. It placed the roots for me to become the person who creates my own life that I absolutely love and doesn't have shame while doing it. And like most things in my life, I never fully processed everything that I went through in 2022. I was suffering so much that year that I felt like I wasn't worthy of existing. I felt like who I am isn't good enough. And like I've said before, I was literally a blob of a human being because I was trapped in this constant battle of wanting to be better, but being stuck and not knowing how to get out, not knowing where to even start to fix these things in my life that were causing me to suffer. And on top of all of that, hating myself so much that I couldn't even breathe without thinking about it. I couldn't enjoy the little things in life without thinking about how much I hated myself, without thinking about how much I wished that I was someone else. I wished that I wasn't me because I hated me. Like, genuinely, I absolutely hated myself, and there wasn't a day or a second that went by that I forgot. I forgot how much I wasn't worthy. And it was painful. It was hard. And like I said, I still deal with that even now. But everything that happened in 2022 set me up for where I am now. And even though it was hard and I self-sabotaged to the extreme and I was a shitty friend and I hated myself, I was a shitty person to myself, I was a shitty girlfriend, I wouldn't change it, because the girl that I was in 2022, she needed all of that. And even though I was doing a lot of really bad things, I was also starting the process of forming healthier habits, of feeling my emotions instead of pushing them down and distracting myself. In 2022, I can say a lot of things about myself. I can say that I was a shitty person, a shitty friend, that I was self-sabotaging. But you know what I'm proud of? I felt everything. I let myself feel how much I hated myself, not because I didn't want to, but because I had no choice but to do it, because all of the knowledge that I had made it to where I could not do anything else. I had so much knowledge about who I was and my trauma responses and the person that I am, why I acted the way that I did. And because of that, I couldn't not feel the guilt that came with everything. And I kept on doing research. I kept on listening to podcasts to help put me into a more positive headspace. I kept on listening to things that changed my mindset and put me into a more positive headspace. I just kept on going and going, and I'm proud of that. Even though I hated myself, even though at the time I didn't see how good everything that I was doing was, now looking back, I'm so proud of it, because I would not be the person that I am right now. I would not be the person who makes these podcast episodes if it weren't for who I was in 2022. It's weird because it feels like I was an entirely different person. It feels like that is a decade ago. And it really wasn't that long ago. It was 3 years ago. And I'm an entirely different person now because of that year. So yeah, it was the worst year of my life. The hardest, the most painful, the most heartbreaking year of my life. But I needed it to be me now. Whenever we're going through something that's hard or painful, we will often tell ourselves all of the things that I told myself. I hate myself. This isn't helping. There's no point. I'm stuck forever. I am not good enough. We genuinely believe all of these things, and even though deep down our intuition knows that things are good and things are going to get better, whenever you're going through it, it's harder to see the other side because it's so painful. But if we go through the motions and go through everything that we're experiencing and go through this season of life that we are currently in, we will come out better. But if we distract ourselves and try not to go through those things, try not to feel all of those emotions, even the ones that make us want to die. If we don't do that and we just keep on distracting ourselves and we just keep on partying, or I didn't party, but whatever it is that you do, you won't ever make it out. And the point is to get out. We want to get out of this hard time. And during these really hard times, I think the best thing that we can do is just to go through what we're going through, but don't do what I did and absolutely hate yourself. If you're currently going through a season of life like that, remember that it's okay. Literally everything is okay. Forgive yourself for everything. Everything. I mean everything. Like, I remember during that time, I would hear people in podcasts say, you need to forgive yourself. But I would be like, if these people who are saying this knew how bad I was, then they wouldn't forgive me. They would think that I'm the exception. But you're not. You're not the exception. I promise you, forgive yourself for everything. And remember that it's all going to be okay. Yes, it's hard right now, but it's not always going to be hard. And if you think about it, if you're at the lowest point of your life, that means that the only way you can go is up. You can't go down anymore because you're already all the way down. You're already at the lowest. To me, that's inspiring. Remembering that, yes, I'm at my lowest. Yes, I'm struggling. Yes, this is really fucking hard, but I can't go anywhere but up. And I will go up. I will choose to. I would choose to fight all of this that I'm going through and make it to the person that I'm meant to be, because I am going through all of this for a reason. You are going through what you're going through for a reason. And I don't want to be that person that says that if you're going through something really hard and you're mourning, I don't want to be that person that tells you that you can't mourn or makes you feel like you can't by saying it's happening for a reason. Feel how you need to feel. If you want to be depressed as fuck for months, do it, because that's what you need. And you were going through that to get out of it. You can only get out if you go through. But please don't let this time in your life break you down. Please don't let this time in your life take you away from who you're meant to be in the future. Please don't let this time in your life define you forever. Please don't remain in this time forever. And I'm not going to say it, but yes, that has a double meaning. I don't really like to talk about that kind of stuff because I know it's really hard and it's really scary for me to talk about, like suicide and stuff like that. But I am talking about that, and I'm also talking about staying stuck and distracting yourself. You will make it out and you will be happier even if you're not happy right now. But even during hard times, if we are in a more positive headspace and we remind ourselves that everything is going to be okay and that we can get ourselves through anything, then we're always going to be okay. We're always going to make it out. And even whenever we're going through those hard times, it's a lot easier to go through them whenever we know that at the end of the day, everything is going to be okay. Everything. No matter what it is, no matter what you're going through, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is, it's going to be okay. And you're going to be happy again. But you don't need to hate yourself. You don't need to hate the situation that you're in. I know it's hard. And I know, like I said, sometimes you just have to feel it and you just have to go through it. But if I could tell myself in the past, in 2022, anything, it would be stop hating yourself. You're doing the best you can and you're doing so well. And literally what you're doing isn't even that bad. I thought it was horrible, but it wasn't. It wasn't that bad. Like at all. Yes, I hurt some people. I hurt friends. I hurt my boyfriend a lot, but I didn't murder anyone. I didn't do anything illegal. I was just self-sabotaging. And of course that impacts other people around me, but that impacted me the most. So remember that everything is okay. You don't need to focus on your next move to let this person know how much you are sorry. You need to focus on you. Whenever you get through it and out of this painful time in life, then you can fix things. But just remind yourself that everything is okay and you will be perfectly fine. And I promise you, you will stop self-sabotaging whenever you love yourself. Whenever we self-sabotage, it's because we deep down feel that we kind of deserve it. As sad as it is, we believe that we don't deserve things that bring good into our life, but you do. You deserve every single good thing that comes to you, no matter what you've done. And that's all I have for this week's episode. I really like talking about it, and if I could, I would continue talking on and on and on. I just want to keep on saying more, but I think I've said everything that I need to say, and I also really need to go to bed, even though I don't want to. So if you could, please leave my podcast a review on Apple Podcasts or give it a 5-star review on Spotify. I only have 11 reviews and I'd love to have more. Share my podcast with people that you think it would help and be an inspiration. Do what you think is best for you right now. Do something, create something that helps you be you. And that may not make a lot of sense right now, but it will make sense. I didn't know what to say, but it will. And it's important. It's important for us to put ourselves out there in that way and create. That's why we're here. Humans are so creative. So whatever it is that you like doing, if you like writing poetry or writing music or making art, there's so many other things. It's not just those things. Don't overthink it. You can create just by doing your makeup. You can create by putting together cute outfits. You can create by just sitting and being present and staring at your home and deciding how you want it organized. Just be human, be fully human as much as you can, and I promise you that's how you're going to experience the greatest life that you can. Not the most perfect life, not a life where you're happy all the time, but a great life. Because being human, as much as it sucks sometimes, it's actually incredibly beautiful. All these emotions that we feel, all of them are so beautiful, and experiencing every single one of them is the best thing that we can do for ourselves. I really don't want to go, and I want to keep on talking, but I need to go, and I need to make myself go to bed instead of staying up until 5 a.m. We'll see how that works, because I'll probably end up staying up late anyways. I'll probably end up just laying there. Maybe I'll read a book to help me wind down. But thank you so much for listening. I will see you next Sunday.